back to another video. This is Thoughts Worth Remembering, Part 2. I have a note with plenty of valuable thoughts that I'm going to share. The last time I made an entry was April 6, 2022. Sometimes you have to take a second just to realize how inefficiently we do things. We're using such a small amount of our potential brain power doing the same repetitive things every day, and we do them usually the same exact way every day. Sometimes we happen to think harder, breaking the cycle and finding a more efficient way to do the task you've been doing the same your whole life. There's so many things we could do to make the objective significantly easier, but you have to really focus on it and try to use more of your brain. Some things we don't do just because they simply look odd. We do the normal looking way. I'll give you an example. Let's say you use 2 toothbrushes instead of 1. Obviously that would look really weird. The normal thing is to use 1, but you have 2 hands, right? And these hands have the same capability. Now you're probably right-handed or left-handed, so you have to practice with the other one, but you are capable of using your non-dominant hand just as effective as your other one. So let's say you practice and get to that level. You can brush your teeth in half the time, but we don't do that because it looks weird. We're just used to the normal way. I just want you to understand that nothing is perfect. Nearly everything was invented by humans, and we just happen to use the best tool for the job that we know of at that time. Humans imitate each other more than we realize. We pretty much all wipe the same, and that was because one person decided that's the best way to do it, until eventually somebody came up with bidets. They found a better way to do it. Now there really isn't no right way to do something because there's infinite ways to do it, but the point is there are quicker and more efficient ways to reach your goals. You just don't know them, and that's the difference between the people who have reached your goals, you reaching your goals, and where you're at. I'll give you another example. Let's use stretching for example. There are hundreds of ways to stretch, and obviously some of those positions look weird, but when you're not focusing on how it looks and focusing on what it's doing, then you can find more optimal ways to do it. So don't focus so much on what everybody else thinks. Focus on what you think. Does this feel good? Does this feel right? Is there a better way to do it? Get creative. You wanna know why? Because perspective is infinite. That's an entry that I wrote here. I said perspective is infinite, and then I put a comma, so I definitely wasn't finished writing. I don't know what I was gonna write after that, but just those 3 words are so powerful. Because right now on my exact placement, this is my perspective. If I move slightly to the left, this is now my new perspective. Now this is my new perspective. And with all 3 of those different perspectives, you had 3 new perspectives of me. Literally, perspective is infinite. And it's easy to get hung up on how things look because you haven't changed your perspective yet. This gets so freaking deep. This can be mentally, this can be physically. For example, the sun's in my eyes right now, but just moving a couple inches, it's out of my eyes. That small shift in perspective changed my reality. And reality is a huge rabbit hole that I might go down in the future, but every single bit of different perspective is a different reality. Don't think so limited. There's unlimited perspective, unlimited ways to look at things. So don't think the way you're looking at things is the best way to do it, because you can't even fathom the other perspectives that you haven't seen. You already have everything you need to succeed, and it's in your head. You just have to figure out how to use it. That's really all it is. Everything you need to succeed is already within you. Your mind is so complex, it's really insane. Your mind truly is the world's best supercomputer. It can take in infinite education. It can really do anything with that education. You just have to manage to do the right things at the right time in the right way. For example, let's say my success is 1 million views on a video. This video could do that. And how do I achieve that? By using my brain, by thinking of how to set up a phone, how to talk to it, and what to say. Literally just by doing that, I can have success. And all it took was just my thoughts. Now, success is scarce because it takes rare thoughts to cause it. In order to get rare thoughts, you have to think a lot. You have to have a lot of thoughts. Just like if you want to be a good basketball shooter, you have to shoot a lot of basketball shots before you get good. If you want to be a good communicator, you have to talk a lot before you get good. If you want to have a lot of good thoughts, you have to think a lot. With quantity comes quality. So whatever it is you want to succeed with in life, just nonstop think about that, and eventually you will gain the perspective that will earn you that success. You have everything you need. Just don't give up. And then coming back to the perspective, if I change my perspective, I'm gonna have different thoughts. If I change my environment, I'm gonna have different thoughts. Your environment and perspective influences how you think. And if you want to think in new ways, you have to change those. And to change those, you have to think how to change those. It all comes back to your thoughts. It's the greatest tool ever. You just have to use it until you get good at using it. And then once you get good at using it, your life becomes so much better. Management of time is everything. 5 minutes will go by no matter what. Regardless of anything that happens in the world, eventually decades go by, and the future will come as long as you're alive. So you can start preparing long-term goals for long-term dates. Let's say I wanted to accomplish something in like 10 years. That seems like a really distant time in the future, but it will come eventually. So if I start managing my time in the next 10 years trying to accomplish my objective, I'll most likely accomplish it. Then I'll live in that reality with an accomplished objective for my past self's work. And then I get to enjoy it in the present and the future. So just be conscious, time is going to pass. The future is going to come. So think, what does that future look like for you? You can find out by studying your daily habits, but you can also choose what your future looks like. Think, what do you want it to look like? And then cater your daily habits to that. One huge lesson that I would like to share is that you have to be willing to learn. I've always considered myself smart in a sense of awareness, until one day I realized how ignorant we really are. I seen myself as smart because of the people I was comparing myself to, but then I realized just how much people don't know collectively. Like, there's so much in this world we don't know. Whenever you're growing up as a kid, you feel like adults know everything, but we truly don't. There's so much we don't know. That is why you always must be willing to learn and make use out of every single scenario. You can educate yourself on accident through so many things. You'll never run out of lessons to learn. There's infinite knowledge to gain, and you can nonstop gain that knowledge just from your phone. Be willing to learn and then take action. Learn something every single day. Be conscious of every single scenario you're in and try to gain value from it. Think, what can you learn from it? Because I promise there's something. There always is. It's crazy how much potential each person has. Literally almost every person can do almost anything. If there was only people who wanted to reach this potential and work together, the outcome is incredible. This is why they say surround yourself with people who you want to be like. People who don't waste this potential by living for bad habits like eating junk food, doom scrolling, and other hedonistic garbage. I notice humans are all constantly experiencing. We react upon our experiences, which we're constantly doing through our senses. For example, smelling candles brings positive affiliation. So like right now, I'm just making a video, but that's an experience. You're watching a video, that's experience. We're all experiencing things. And then through experiences, we affiliate. Really introspect. Study your own thoughts. Study your behavior. Study your experiences. Study yourself. You have the ultimate vessel to study. And the more you study, the smarter you become, the more you know. Become more conscious. Whenever I do this, I make this affiliation. What kind of affiliations do you want to have? Obviously positive ones. So what experiences and actions cause that? Take those actions. Make those experiences. If you want to reach your goals, then you have to work on your free time. People are given long shifts to do simple, repetitive tasks, basically with any job. If I flip burgers for 8 hours, I'm probably not going to come out of that shift any more skilled. Maybe I might be a little bit of a better burger flipper, but that's literally it. If I spent that 8 hours focusing on a skill that I cared about on a personal goal, then my skill would definitely increase in that. People are too busy with being scheduled to these jobs to focus on anything other than their paycheck. But you have to work on your free time to ever even imagine getting paid for what you want to do. Money is literally everywhere. This costs money, this costs money, every single thing costs money. And every single thing that costs money, somebody made money from. Money is literally everywhere. Chances are, if there's something you want to do, that somebody else is getting paid to do that. Just that alone is enough proof to show that you are capable, but only if you work for it. The truth is, it's still hard balancing the time when you have to work to support your life. You have to balance as good as you can until you're so good at that personal goal from all the time invested that you can quit your day job and work how you want with double the time now. So in my free time, I love making YouTube videos. I'm trying to stay consistent and gradually improve, but I have to make time for that. Whenever I'm not working, this is technically work. Like, I'm working, I'm doing something, and I have to want this bad enough to work hard enough to make this a reality. So I understand that, you understand that, you just must do what it takes. Why do I want to be rich? One of the reasons is to feel a certain emotion, a certain feeling. This feeling is hard to describe, but I get it when I have dreams of doing stuff in places that are fantasy places. I want to make these fantasies a reality. The earth is a big place. There are some places like in my dreams out there. I want to feel that same feeling I do in my dreams when I'm in these locations. The only thing stopping me is not being financially free. So like, I'm sure we've all had dreams where we're in this place that just seems like a fantasy. But the truth is, there are places like that that can give you that same feeling. There's so many beautiful places out there. The earth is huge. There's so many places you haven't been and experienced. I want to one day experience these places and feel these feelings that I have in my dreams. And really, when it comes down to it, the only thing stopping me is not being financially free. Here's an unfinished prompt, but I just wrote unique is important and then comma. I actually just talked about individuality in a different video. I'll put the title here because I forgot, but you are individual, nobody else is you, so that is your superpower. Don't forget it. I wrote, train your eyes to see potential, then judge upon that when comparing yourself or choosing an acquaintance. It's easy to look at the value of things by the way we see it, but we don't look at what it could be. You yourself, you look at yourself for what you are. I don't have 1 million subs, I don't have $1 million, but I have that potential. When I started looking at that, that's gonna attract me towards that life even more. Rather than me focusing on what I'm at right now, that's gonna keep me there. Really train your eyes to see potential. If you do the same thing every single day, you will feel like a robot because you are a robot. There are little changes you can make to the things you do every day that will make a big difference. It's hard to see the differences because you're blind from the same perspective every day. Coming back to perspective, perspective is infinite, so change it. Unless you have the perfect routine, which you probably don't, always find new ways to improve your routine. Change is so freaking important. Changing perspective, changing your environment, changes reality. I just talked about this. Don't get caught up doing the same things every single day the same exact way. You can do one thing infinite ways. Get creative with it sometimes. Shift your perspective, shift your reality. Taking advantage of your sleep is crucial. If you sleep 8 hours, that's 1/3 of a day. If you sleep 6 hours, that's a quarter of your day. If you think of sleeping in a way of payment of time in your life, because that's really what it is, then wouldn't you rather only pay 25% rather than 33%? Now, I wrote this a long time ago, so I'm gonna add on to that. 8 hours of sleep is super important for recovery, especially if you're working out really hard or training really hard. Then there's of course a bunch of cognitive benefits. Sleeping is a superpower. We recharge and we do so much in our sleep. So 8 probably is better than 6, but what I've learned is everybody is different. Some people require less sleep than others. I unfortunately require a lot of sleep. I wake up off 8 hours of sleep sometimes and I'm still tired, but I do believe there's a way to train myself to require less sleep. Now that you have that reference of how much time sleep takes away from your life, just make sure you're not oversleeping. And then if you want to shorten your sleep span, let's say you're at 8 hours. From what I've read, you just have to gradually diminish it. So sleep 5 less minutes the next day, and then 5 less minutes the next, and so on, and eventually your body should be regulated to run off less sleep. But don't oversleep and don't undersleep. This sun keeps getting away from me. I'm gonna shift the angle, shift the perspective. When I eat, I like to savor my food. Imagine the difference between eating a big meal one bite at a time or finishing it all in one bite. Then you're instantly full and you don't crave food anymore. You're preserving dopamine with every single bite, rather than using it all in a single burst. The same concept goes whenever you do small productive things. You get small bursts of dopamine, but let's say you waste your dopamine all at once. Let's just say by like drinking or smoking. You just use so much dopamine that you become numb to it. Then it's harder to do things because it's gonna require more effort. You fried your dopamine sensors. Let's say I sat in a room for 4 hours doing nothing but meditate. Then afterwards, if I do something productive like do the dishes, it's gonna be so much more fun than doing nothing at all. But let's say I smoke and drink and just chase dopamine and indulge in it, then doing the dishes isn't gonna give me any. Regulate your dopamine. And to end this all off, one way I use to snap myself out of slacking is thinking of my perfect self watching me just lay down and waste all this insane potential. Potential is really unfathomable. You have limited time and unlimited potential. Don't waste either. Thank you for watching. You're the freaking GOAT, and as always, stay sedulous.